we at the Rouge Rugby wish to extend our condolences to the family and friends of Liam Geddes. Liam was a well-respected and liked player for Queen's University Gaels, Rugby Ontario, Lindsay Rugby Football Club. He shall be missed. Everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. Joining me, as always, is Derek Brissett. Derek, it has been a big weekend of rugby. We've had the penultimate round of the Six Nations. We've had the sixth round of MLR. The latest version of SLAR has begun as well. There's rugby here, there, and everywhere. How are you able to keep up?
I have no idea. It's been a wild week. There's, like you said, it's like there's so much. It was nice of the Free Jacks to play a Six Nations game while the the Arrows Academy and the Independents were battling. So you could kind of watch both at the same time, provided the play was in the right end of the field. So that was super convenient. There's just so much going on. Yeah, it was a really busy weekend. Yeah, just games constantly. It's not changing though, because there's still going to be, I think this week we're still rolling 6 MLR games, Six Nation finals this week. No.
Yep, that'll be the final weekend. Coming up,
so it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. The AFL season starts this week too, if you're into that. So that's not rugby at all. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but Drive to Survive also came out. I know you're excited about that one. Drive to Survive came out. Have you dove into it yet?
I've watched it all already, and I will talk about it later as we go through the show. But first off, I just want to mention that something you brought up is that there was a academy game that was held before the Arrows Free Jacks game. So it has been officially announced that the Arrows Academy, the Arrows Senior Academy, will begin playing games this year. This was only announced on March the 11th, so literally 4 days ago, just before their first game of the season. And they had a game up against the New England Independents. And this was announced very last minute, so we got a very last announcement of the actual season that they'll be having. So the Arrows Academy is made up of 3 different regional sites. 2 are in Ontario, one based in Guelph, the other in Kingston, and one in Quebec, in Montreal. And they have been training basically for the past 2 years on and off, obviously being restricted by the restrictions that have been in place due to COVID. And now they will be playing their fixtures, and they have confirmed fixtures, home and away, not only with New England, but New York as well. They are also in the final stages of scheduling a 2-game series in Halifax that will pit the Arrows Academy against the Atlantic Selects and the Canada West Selects, and that will be in either late May or early June. So we have a lot. So this isn't going to be a one and done. We do have some academy games to look forward to as the season goes on. But let's talk about the game that actually happened. So there's very interesting starting 15. 5 of the players are actually senior Arrows players. Sam Mace was the captain at hooker, while Mitch Vorlek at fullback was the vice captain. Interesting enough, Marc-Antoine Ouellette was named both in this squad and the matchday squad for the Arrows. And what actually was set to transpire was that he would only play the first half of the academy game and would then be on the bench for the actual Arrows game. It turns out he wasn't actually played in the Arrows game. But, we had Bryce Warden, Sam Mace, Marc-Antoine Ouellette, all front row, all senior Arrows players. Also Hank Stevenson in the second row, and obviously the vice captain, Mitch Vorlek, being the fullback. So the final score from that game, it was a bit one-sided. The academy players had 12 and the independents 35. Derek, you were able to catch this game. What did you make of it? What do you make of the academy's first outing against another MLR academy team?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely it looked like their first time playing together. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. It's just chemistry and stuff is something that takes time to build up. And we know that one of the things with the Arrows Academy is obviously it kind of got formed and then COVID hit pretty quickly after it
Yeah.
got formed, right? So the players have had, I think they even mentioned it. They were showing some of the pregame speeches and in the locker room and stuff before the game on the new Arrows Academy social media channels. And like they were kind of talking about the fact that it's they like it's they're kind of getting their first opportunity to have like a full season together, or to have like regularly play together regularly, as you kind of mentioned. It looks like there's already future games already lined up. And I think ultimately, winner loss, or winner loss. Wow, win or lose. I think it's great to see that the Arrows Academy is. Yeah, that was. I see you laughing at that mistake there, Stu, because that was a bad one. Um, it's I think the Toronto Arrows, like, it's a good thing to have the academy going up and running. It's something that I think Canadian rugby definitely needs. Like you said, like, I mean, we're talking about, you mentioned that there's 5 guys that are on the Arrows like senior, that are on like the Arrows MLR roster, right? And Warden, Mace, Ouellette, Stevenson, and Vorelek. Vorelek's probably played the most out of all of them on the senior team so far. Ouellette's obviously got into a couple games. Hank Stevenson has played for a whole bunch of MLR teams, but yet to actually get into an MLR game. And Warden and Mace are obviously draft picks that haven't made an appearance yet this year. And it's like, I think that's one of the immediate things that you kind of notice with I think that's one of those things, is like immediately what you kind of notice with this game is like you give those guys a chance to get some game time, right? And also you give, I think if you really kind of look at Vorelek, especially, it's like you give those guys, like, if they're on the Arrows roster, you have Rumball, you have Della Vega, you have Sam Malcolm, right? You have a ton of talented players, right? And it's like, I think in this game, it's like you give a chance to guys like to a guy like Mitch Vorelek, a chance to like be the guy, right? The guy that's like, running, running a little bit of the offense. It kind of goes through him. You're one of the best players on the team, as opposed to, being, part of the bigger, I guess, part of the bigger picture, but maybe not necessarily the star player. So you kind of get a little bit, maybe more like the responsibility. And then you also get obviously a whole bunch of guys that can kind of show their development and give them chances to develop, give them a chance to, I guess, travel around with the MLR team too, see some MLR games, learn what it's going to take to get to that next level.
Yeah, it's a good learning curve to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight into an MLR game.
Yeah, exactly. It was like you can turn around and watch it. I'm sure a lot of those guys are absorbing a lot, especially as you kind of mentioned, the 5 guys that are, seem to kind of be bouncing between the academy and the MLR side. But ultimately, like, I thought the game was good. I think, like you said, it's like there's obviously, a bit of a 35-12 loss, right? So the scoreboard doesn't look too flattering.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, as you said, this is it seems like their first game together. It's
exactly.
Also an away game as well. So obviously home field advantage.
The worst weather.
And the worst weather. We will get into that because obviously following this game was the Arrows game.
The weather for this game was worse, I think. I don't know. I couldn't really tell. Maybe it's just those. Maybe it was just I don't know. I can't really. It was tough to tell.
I don't know. Maybe as night fell and it just made the Arrows game darker, so it picks up the snow
more,
a lot better.
Either way, in this game, so obviously, I think one of the things that's really nice, I think, like the first try that the Arrows scored, being like a nice. There's a scrum. The scrum holds. There's a scrum. The scrum holds well. It's they give like that front row, that basically all like MLR team front row gives a really nice platform for the Arrows to attack from, right? And then I thought, O's pass from the back is nice. And then I thought James Webb made a really nice play to kind of draw in the first defenders coming towards him, and then kind of fire like that reverse pass out to Vorelek. as the defenders were already kind of coming towards him, making it look like that he's going to be the ball carrier. So that was a really nice play. Vorelek kind of burns the first defender and offloads to Paul Schroeder to finish the try. So that was a really solid play. And yeah, so like that was a really solid play, which was a great thing to see. The other try too, again, the scrum being a really nice platform. I think the scrum worked pretty well for them, at least as far as the putting up tries. Scrum as a platform again. Matt Fish just takes the ball from the 8-man spot, and just any of the New England independents that were in his way were promptly rolled over like a speed bump, and he scored that try. So that was a nice play from Fish. I thought he played well through most of the game too. I thought a lot of the backs were pretty good. Across the board from Webb, Butler, McLaughlin, Eustace, Schroeder, Vorelek were all good. I thought Adam Doyle played pretty good too once he came in into the game as the reserve scrum half. And it was a good game all around. The weakest point was probably, I think, the independents probably stole too many lineouts for anyone's liking, but I think like overall I think it was a solid first outing, and it's something that I think the team can kind of build on, and hopefully it's like if the Arrows can keep arranging games for them. I like this idea that if they go to play like another MLR team, they bring the academy with them and play them. I think that's a really good way to go about doing this. I also think like what the Free Jacks did on this weekend looked incredible. They had like club games, they had this academy game, and then it all kind of accumulated into the big Free Jacks versus Arrows game at the end. They were showing like the Six Nation games on the scoreboard, like during and in between games. Kind of looked like it had like a full out like proper festival vibe to it. So it's I thought as a whole the game went pretty well. And the weird thing was though that I thought was weird, and I don't know why, but they appeared to were not playing under MLR rules.
In the academy game?
Yeah. Like they were converting tries that were scored under the post. There wasn't too many scrum resets anyways, but I'm not sure I noticed a third one anywhere. There was a ball that was held up over the line that ended up being like that was a 5-meter scrum instead of a 22 dropout. So I thought that was kind of weird. But
the ball being held up should have been a goal line dropout, because that's
and not a scrum, rugby rule. But it was.
But the other things, such as the automatic 7, the limited scrum resets, those are only specific to MLR games. Yeah, but you can argue of like, then they referees, especially if they're coming from doing local club games in which they don't have these rules, it's just a case of like they won't do it.
I mean, that's fine. So it's not like I was like watching it being like, oh, like that's bizarre, or anything. It was just kind of like, that's interesting. I don't know. It's just a minor thing that I kind of noticed. I think it was New England's. Is it New England? I think it's New England's first or second try that is scored under the post, and some of the players seem to be kind of thinking like automatic conversion. I think the Arrows actually run off the goal line, like to go to like set up for the kickoff, and then like the New England kicker kind of like just kind of waits there, and then like he actually ends up kicking the conversion. But so that was, I don't know, I just thought that was, I feel like if you're MLR academies though, you should be playing, and you're playing another MLR academy, it's like playing under MLR rules is probably a beneficial way to groom guys to play in MLR, not like, or maybe you just want guys to get kicking practice. It's like if they have to, it's like, that's the academy, right? You got to develop.
Or maybe they just need to iron out the rules now for future games. Sure. But as it's been mentioned, the Arrows Academy will be playing New York as well. Hopefully that means they'll have a game before the Rugby New York Arrows game in a few weeks' time. And then when both teams come to Toronto to play, we can have an academy game before that. Now we'll move on to the main event, the Arrows versus the Free Jacks. And as we mentioned already, the weather was horrible. It sounds as though they had a perfect festival setup, everything was going well, but the weather just decided not to agree with them and just do its own thing, diva. So the snow was coming down. I think it was sleet as well for most of the game as well. Billowing winds. And the Free Jacks got the scoring started because now I don't know about you, but Bowden Walker doesn't need to join the New Zealand rugby team. He needs to join their soccer team because just excellent football skills, able to get the volley of the ball, take it within like 5 meters, offload, first try of the match, done and dusted. And then it took a long time for either side to score. I mean, I think Toronto missed a few opportunities, made a few decisions that didn't really add up. For example, De La Vega made a great break, and then with Brody on his left, chipped ahead. I could see what he was trying to do. It just didn't come together. And in the end, it was a penalty that got the Arrows on the scoreboard. And then we get the second half, and almost immediately, Arrows are pinned down. They give away possession of the scrum, and then Slade McDowell slips between two defenders. Walker gets another conversion. Suddenly it's 14-3 up. Although that said, the try of the game came from Brock Webster, who must have seen Andrew Coe scoring for New York last week and said, you know what? You're a sevens player. I'm a sevens player. Anything you can do, I can do just as well. Chip from Sam Malcolm over catch, immediately down, try scored. Arrows are back in the game. However, the conversion with the wind and the weather, the sharp angle, obviously didn't go over. So it's like 14-8. Then comes probably the most infuriating score of the game. And again, it is Slade McDowell, who, I don't know, I'm going to say it's obviously like the snow, the sleet, the wind has just gone on to his like a St. Patrick's Day New England kit. It's mixed with those fibers. Magic has happened. Suddenly, no one can keep their hands on him. He gets through 5 tacklers and scores a try. And it's at that point where it's like, okay, the game's won for the Free Jacks. They've got the momentum swinging, and, time's running out. It's, they only have about 12, 30 minutes left of the game. And if it was under normal circumstances, normal weather, I could see the Arrows like getting back into it, but obviously things just aren't going their way. And then Cole Keith gets a yellow card for something that just seemed like a bit of shoving, but the TMO was saying it was something else. Then you have Mike Shepard putting his arm around another player's neck, and that's another penalty conceded. And then Josh Larson gets the yellow card. So, Josh Larson gets a yellow card for something else. But obviously, it's just time that's ticking away from the Arrows to get back into the game. But we're not ending on a downer. There was some positives. The clock goes in the red. The Arrows have possession. They keep pushing forward, keep applying the pressure. Eventually, Jack McRogers gets through. Doesn't get the 7-pointer. He's just the other side of the post, but it's easy enough for Malcolm to get the conversion. The Arrows leave with a losing bonus point. The final score, New England 21, Toronto 15. Derek,
Good summary.
Thank you. Derek, what was your highlight of the match?
My highlight, highlights obviously the Webster try. That play was sweet. We need to bottle that up a little bit. That was amazing. Just Malcolm's awareness to see Webster kind of open on the wing. I guess New England was definitely, as the Arrows were kind of trying, hammering away at the line there. The New England defense was kind of pinching in towards where the ball was, and Webster was just kind of left all alone. And it was that was a perfect kick over, nicely taken by Webster. Brilliant try. I guess I don't know if he talked to Andrew Coe. Maybe they're sharing some sevens team secrets. I'm not really sure, but I love that this play is kind of seems to be making its way into MLR a little bit. It's pretty exciting. That play that I guess another highlight. I mean, it's not really a highlight if you're an Arrows fan, but that play that Waka made that you
from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, from a neutral perspective, yeah, that play that Waka made was ridiculous with that half volley. And I think that's one of those plays that it's like is Waka the early season favorite to be MVP right now? Like as we sit right now? Is he the
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah. I think he is. He seems to have the most influence on games as well. I mean, obviously being a fly half, you will have influence on your games, but I mean, he's always in the right position at the right time. I mean, against New York, he was able to get an intercept and a try from that. He was able to score another. He scored 3 tries last week, actually, didn't he? So
yes, he's scoring a lot.
So yeah, he's been racking up that try tally. He wants to get the top point scorer of the season as well. Yeah, he's just trying to get all of them except anything that involves cards because seems to be on side for all that. I'll tell you one thing that was a highlight for any fan, whether you're an Arrows fan, New England fan, or neutral. Those St. Patrick's Day kits were beautiful.
The kits were nice. That they New England always hits the mark on the kits, man. No matter what they do, it's like they had that one white kit in their first year that didn't have the collar, and that's just looks like it doesn't even belong in the wardrobe that this team has put forth since then. Always, the classic collar always looks good, but yeah, they nailed these St. Patrick's Day kits. They looked unbelievable, and it's too bad they got soaking wet the entire time, but it's they looked great. Yeah, I think though, like kind of looking at the game though, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like, is this a game? Like, it's not that I necessarily think that New England didn't deserve to win the game, because New England definitely deserves to win this game. But is this a game that the Arrows should have won, that they that slipped through the fingers a little bit? Or is this a game that the Arrows just lost?
I think this is a game so this is the thing. The weather is the great equalizer or determiner, especially when it's like wet and sleet, and because that's it. We have players on both sides, like have handling errors, both sides, tripping over themselves, losing lines. The inability to get those 5 tacklers to stop New England from scoring the third try. Yeah, that was infuriating. That play's
terrible. Yeah.
And that's why I would say Toronto lost this game, because if 5 of you can't tackle one person,
you lost.
Then you've lost the game.
See,
but at the same time, I think as well, Arrows knowing that if they get a try and if they get a converted try or like a 7-point try, they get the losing bonus point. And obviously, we're only a third of the way through the season now. It's hard to tell what impact it'll have at this moment, but you never know. Obviously, back in 2019, the Arrows had 7 wins on the bounce at home, and it was those bonus points they got earlier in the season that helped push them ahead of other teams that were trying to make the playoffs as well. Obviously, different structure, so different results this time, but at the moment, very, very close at the top in the East. I think the difference between first and third is only 1 point, and you have a case of like, yes, the Arrows are behind now, but as the season goes on, momentum swings different ways. It'll be these losing bonus points or these try bonus points, whichever comes around, that can make the difference come the end. So I think it may even be a case of like Toronto lost the battle, but they've done enough to maybe help them win the war.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess one thing though, that what I kind of meant by that, I guess, is I think you kind of look at, and it's like the first half, I thought the Arrows played really well. I thought in the first half. The one try that they allowed was, as we kind of mentioned, a ridiculous play from Bodie Waka. And, as no matter what you do defensively, it's like there's going to be times where great players just make a great play, and there's maybe there was something you can do, but realistically, it's like there's nothing you can do about it, right? Every great try that's ever been scored has had somebody else on the other side of that highlight reel, right? So it was a great play. We'll let that one we'll let go. Good try by New England. But I think it's like you kind of look at it, and you kind of mentioned the weather. There was a bit of wind. The Arrows had the wind in the first half. and they had 83% of the territory in the first half, which is a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like pretty much basically the whole first half was played in New England's end, and they only came away with 3 points during that entire time. And you kind of mentioned, like you mentioned other parts of the game too, where it's like they get down into the 20, inside the 22, maybe like 5 meters out, and then a knock on, a penalty, a penalty, any other error kind of ended the scoring threat. Or even at sometimes, like New England's defense played very well too. Sometimes it was just simply not being able to get through New England's defense, right?
Yeah.
And eventually New England would earn their own turnover on, like, and I strictly mean earn that. But it seems like, as you kind of mentioned though too, right? Like the bonus points, it's like, well, one of the ways to get bonus points is to score tries. And it just seems like through a couple games this season and in this game as well, like there's just a lot of opportunities that you could try scoring opportunities that, like you said, like that Cole Keith yellow card. I agree with you, kind of soft, just soft yellow card. The unfortunate thing though is that there was it a knock on or a penalty or something that was going against the Arrows before that anyway.
Yeah, so it seemed like they were just like inches from the line, and a knock on had occurred.
A knock on had occurred, right? So you're inches away from the line, and there was a knock on, and then it's a soft yellow. I mean, but it's a soft yellow. But what can you do? It just makes the situation kind of worse, really. But it was like that's a try scoring opportunity that went aside. Like you said, it's like later in the game, there's a try scoring opportunity that goes because Mike Shepard, kind of got his arm up high on a New England player in the maul, and Arrows aren't able to capitalize on that. Few other instances in the game too where it's just knock-ons or penalties, and it's kind of like, I guess it is kind of one of those things where it's like, if you're saying you're going to rely on bonus points and stuff, you got to start capitalizing on some of these opportunities, because it seems like in a way, like the Arrows almost seem a little bit snake bitten right now when they kind of get inside that 22. And I mean, you kind of look at it too, like even through 5 games of the MLR so far, or I mean, a lot of the teams in the West have played 6 games, but the Eastern Conference right now is sitting all at 5 games. The Arrows 10 tries is the least tries that have been scored in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
If you take all the Western Conference teams and remove the 6th game too, right, the Arrows have scored the least amount of tries through 5 games of the MLR season so far, right? And 4 of the 10 tries that they've scored were against Old Glory, who everybody is scoring tries against. Right. And it's not that they're super far behind, right? NOLA and Old Glory only have 11 tries, so that's not that big of a difference in all reality, right? The teams though that are currently sitting in the playoff spots, that you kind of mentioned that it's only 1 point separating first and third, but it's 8 points separating third and fourth, and 9 points separating third and fifth, where the Arrows currently sit. So it's a little bit of a gap already. But like, New England, Atlanta, Rugby, New York, they all have like 20 tries each. There's a lot of teams in the West that have a ton of tries as well. But it's just, I don't know. Do they gotta, like, I guess that's the question. They've only hit the try bonus once in the 5 games this year. Right. Right. And they got so it's, I don't know, like, do the Arrows have to do something to try to get more tries on the board, or do we have to kind of like, maybe kind of look at like, say, like that line note or the set piece to be like, okay, like, why aren't we scoring tries when we get down into like that 5 meter? Because realistically, I mean, like they only lost this game by 1 try, right? And there were certainly opportunities to score more than 1 try that came through this game.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's a case of, say similar to like Austin last year, where they just don't have the finishers in place to capitalize on those opportunities. I don't know if it's a case of, they need to focus on their set piece and come back to having one of the most dangerous set pieces in MLR that they did have in 2019 and 2020. I think it's probably going to be a combination of those two things, to be honest. We're obviously talking about this. Need to keep in mind that the majority of Toronto's injury list are backs.
Oh, I know. Yeah, the injury list is nuts.
So the attacking strategy that was probably in place has been readjusted time and time again as the season's gone on. I mean, that's why they signed like Brock Webster on that short-term contract, because he's a guy who, as shown for his Canada debut, can score tries, can get into the right place at the right time and score. And that has happened. That's happened twice, but it's only twice so far. Basically, Brock Webster, you need to be scoring at least 4 tries a game. That's what I'm saying.
But
Brock
that's the
Webster,
thing, though, is
starting first try every 5 minutes, ideally.
I would love that. But is that also a thing, though? Is that also a concern that the guy's scoring the most tries? Because I think he's got, 3 now?
2.
Does he only have 2? All right, maybe not.
Yeah, Nola and this game.
So who has the most tries on the team right now?
Well, it's currently It's currently tied between Brock Webster and Mike Shepherd. Okay. And one of Mike Shepherd's try was a charge down right in front of the post.
Which is defense.
Yeah. That's the Mike Shepherd special.
Yeah,
charging down and scoring try.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? So you're leading, I guess one of your leading try scorers to the first 5 games is going to be gone in a couple of weeks. He's going to play for sevens too, right? So obviously though, I think that's a thing though. Like we kind of have to talk about this, right? Like the injury situation is not good.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, it's already been announced that Andrew Ferguson, unfortunately, requires surgery, and he's going to be out for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I'm just excited for him, man.
Yeah, I know. That's he's a fan of the show. We've had him on. He's a great guy, and it's just a real shame to see him on the sidelines, essentially, for the remainder of the season. But that's the thing, is also, I believe, 7 other backs are currently on the injury list with varying levels, whether it's month to month, week to week, or day to day. And the arrows keep it close to the chest of who's going to be released from that injury list and back into the squad.
But you even had like Faleva is down with an injury, which is why Ouellette had to. I mean, again, as you mentioned, he didn't actually get into the game for the Arrows game, but they had to line Ouellette in both the academy game and the big club game, which is obviously not an ideal situation.
No, it's not.
For multiple, like, I mean, even just the simple, like, what if he gets hurt before the game because he's playing in the other game? Like, just that simple one up, that didn't happen, but that's obviously not an ideal situation. So yeah, like the injuries are kind of adding up. Like, even and also too, like, I'm not an injury, but Matt Hood had to miss this game for personal reasons. So, maybe not the ideal lineup, but yeah, like it's still got to figure out ways to score. Maybe I still have to figure out ways to score. Still have to figure out ways to get through some of the defensive structures.
Yeah.
But the Arrows were obviously still in this game. They were really in this game until Slade McDowell's second try.
Yeah.
Which, as you meant, like,
it just knocked the wind out of their sails.
Yeah. And in all honesty, like, it's just an unacceptable try.
No.
Like,
that is the issue as well. As in, you can't blame anyone else when 5 guys are unable to tackle someone.
Yeah, this straight up missed tackles. And it's the thing, it's like, it's not even that, like, I think the Arrows are playing well defensively, like, over the course of the year. Like, they're not allowing that many points. I think they're generally playing pretty good defense, but then you end up with just like this absolute defensive lapse, and it's at
the worst possible time.
Yeah, it's a big insurance try, puts New England up. Obviously, that puts New England up 21-8 with 13 minutes left. And yeah, even with Larson's red card, it's like it wasn't enough to be able to score 2 tries.
I think you're getting confused. There's only a yellow card for Larson.
What did I say?
red card.
Oh, red card. Oh,
it's because I'm wearing my red.
Yeah, exactly.
Red too. That's why.
Yeah, it's fine. Sorry, Josh.
But
but
that's the thing. I think there's positives to take away from this game, especially playing to the final whistle. There's obviously a lot of things that need to be learnt, such as, and I can't believe I'm saying this, tackling. But
their tackling is fine. It was just the one play was horrendous, though.
Yeah, it was just those 5 tackles.
I did not watch that game and think like, oh, I can't believe they're missing so many tackles. But on that one play, I definitely thought, exactly. Oh, I can't believe they missed that tackle.
And I don't know if it's like a physical thing with the injuries or a mental thing as well, but they just need to get over the line. They need to be able to make. Yeah, they just need to make. Otherwise, this season's going to be rough viewing.
But I mean, you know what though? I mean, we're saying this, and it's probably sounding super doom I guess, all like doom and gloom here.
Oh, this is optimistic by Welsh standards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very true. In all honesty, the Arrows, I don't think they're in trouble until they lose at home.
Yeah, but I also want to get to the stage where a loss at home isn't the end of the world or the end of the season, to be more accurate. Mm-hmm. But they've got other games and hopefully drier and more consistent weather cycles coming up. So here's hoping that by the time they get to Utah next Saturday, they'll be able to, put these issues to bed and upset the Warriors at home. Speaking of the Warriors, we are also now going to be moving on to the other games that happened this weekend. We're just going to blast through them because, there's a lot of rugby going on. We got to get up with it. And first of all, the streak is over. Austin have a loss to this season, and it was done by the hands of ATL, they were just phenomenal in this game. Matt Heaton, their co-captain, got a try, and it always seemed as though Austin were never in this game. The final score, ATL 29, Austin 14. And remember, you can catch the highlights on YouTube, and you can watch the extended highlights on the Rugby Network itself. Now, we had a great Western battle between Houston and Seattle, evenly matched game. But Houston made the decision to have their Canadian starting. Robbie Povey started at fullback, and Houston won. So, maybe Sabercats keep starting him, and you'll, finish as MLR champions. I'm not saying that will happen, but it will definitely happen. The final score, Houston 21, Seattle 19. And as I said, Povey was instrumental in setting up the game-winning try. Now we had a cross-conference fixture down at Dallas between Dallas and NOLA Gold. This was a very back and forth game. It seemed as though NOLA were going to steamroll away with this, but Dallas, they stuck to their guns. They kept it going, and just before the final play, it was 26-29. However, NOLA had a penalty in Dallas's 22 right towards the end. NOLA, the final score was NOLA 32, Dallas 26. NOLA getting that score, obviously, in the second try was scored by Canadian Eric Howard. So, another Canadian making the difference. Dallas, where was Mo? Where are all your Canadian players? That's why you lost the game. I'm just saying, it's mathematically correct.
Are they hurt? Does Dallas have an injury report?
Not to my knowledge. And until they do, then I'm blaming them for not picking any or not even signing Canadians on a temporary basis, just to ensure that they finally get a win. But I digress. Because
I got sent a Jackal's hat. You have to be nice to the Jackals.
Hey, you got sent a Jackal's hat. I didn't get anything,
dude. Yeah, so, actually, I have it actually sitting over here. It's actually a really nice hat, man. It's
the proof that Derek's loyalty can be bought.
I can be, man. The Jackals are the second best team in Major League Rugby right now. The hat is super comfy. Official league, man. It's nice.
I don't know, man. I'm going to go now for a game that actually did feature Canadians on both sides. I think 4 for San Diego and 2 for New York. And this was a titanic battle in Hoboken. Real back and forth, tries making all the difference, penalties by either side. I think it was Joe Peterson was kicking all the points of San Diego, and fortunately, he missed a penalty. San Diego also missed a drop goal as well. And in the end, those things could have made a difference because this was another game that ended with a penalty in the opposition half. So it came down to the final kick in the opposition half, and it was Jack Hyton who turned out to be the hero. The final score, despite what it says on the highlights, was New York 26, San Diego 23.
No, you got that wrong. The Hyton kick was so good it was worth 5 points.
Yeah, it was basically a try.
That's how that it's like. It's the new trial law. If any kick 40,
if you kick it in the last kick of the game, then
5 point line. Yeah.
And then we ended out the game with a battle in the West, LA versus Utah, and this seemed to be going LA's way up until I don't know, like the final 10 minutes, was it? And then Utah scored 2 tries, the first of which was incredible gamesmanship. I think that's the correct word to use. Tap penalty. LA couldn't tackle because they weren't 10 meters away, by which point they were out of position. Easy try for Utah. And then the final one out onto the wings and the center was there to pick it up, score it. LA have now lost 2 games in a row for the first time in MLR history.
Whoa.
The final score, LA 19, Utah 28. So after a not so good start to the season, Utah seem to be turning it around. Here's hoping that they can turn it back around when it comes to Toronto playing, because they'll be playing Toronto this Saturday. Derek, what was your Canadian highlight or highlight in general of the remaining performances of round 6?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously mentioned, Howard's try, Heaton's try. It's always nice to see the Canadian players, crossing the whitewash, dotting down. It's always nice. Povey, in his first start, he had a real nice run in the lead up to what ended up being the game-winning try. Seattle scored a try after, but wasn't enough to catch Houston again. So nice to see Povey kind of playing well, playing at fullback again, though. So that's also kind of an interesting thing, I guess, to keep an eye on, because fly half is such an interesting position on the Canadian national team. And but I think one of the Canadian performances that really stuck out again, and I feel like I don't know, he might be the most underrated player in the league. I don't know. I feel like MLR media and stuff doesn't talk about him enough, but Mike Smith is so good.
Yeah.
He is just, it's every breakdown is literally like he is all over the pitch. Never gives up on plays. He was the only guy on San Diego chasing down Fuatai on that one drop that Fuatai ran all the way back. Which is, it's obviously he didn't catch him, but it's something to, give chase. And he did force the conversion to be a little bit harder than Fuatai probably thought it was going to be. A nice little easy one under the post, but it ended up being.
I've got to say, the way we're talking like week in, week out, I do not envy the Canadian selectors when it comes to picking flanker.
Oh my
men's
God,
15
I know.
Game. I mean, Smith, Rumble, Heaton, Penny, Abdul-Monem. We keep talking about these guys all the time. There's it's a good thing that there are 13 teams for these players to go to. Otherwise, it'd be a nightmare just saying like which one who would get time. But that's a headache you want to have, isn't it?
It is.
Like all these players are so good, but which one works best with them?
Yeah, the back row is looking solid for Rugby Canada for a bit, and that's not even getting into guys like James O'Neill, who's been playing for the coming in off the bench for the Arrows. Yeah. Vic Alani hasn't got into a game yet for the Arrows yet, which is I did not think that would be something that I was saying 5 games into the season, but it's And that's not saying that like Foley has been playing poorly or anything, but I'm surprised that Vikalani hasn't been used as much. But like, yeah, the back row's nuts. But like Smith just hits every breakdown. He always like seems to get his hands on the ball a lot and like slow the game down. It's makes great tackles all the time. Seems to always be in position. Pretty good ball carrier when called upon as well. But he's just everywhere. He got a team of the week selection, I think, last week, and then he had a phenomenal game. And I mean, like we kind of talked about early in the season, it's like San Diego's back row, I guess, with Pryor there, with Rob Shaw there, and Tamilau there, like, is a pretty good back row. And he's like, and I mean, obviously there was a little bit of some injury issues with Pryor and Rob Shaw earlier in the season, but he is making it real difficult for Danny Lee to take that jersey away from him, as probable evidence that Rob Shaw's came off the bench in this one. And like, in all honesty, like, I do not see why you would take him out. This New York San Diego game too as a whole was unreal. Freyer had an amazing try, the counter attack with all the offloading and stuff from Mitchell and Lutz as well. Like, it worked, it was really well. And then you mentioned Jack Heighton. That, I think that that was kind of probably the game of the week, New York San Diego too. But Heighton had the final penalty on the last play of the game. Loved that he started celebrating before the ball even went in or crossed over. That was, it's always nice when it's like you can tell like the guys know. It's great. But yeah, that was a great game. And I mean, it's yeah, you're right though, man. The Canadian selectors at 7. Whew, good luck, man. That's going to be a tough jersey to come by. But I think you said good problem to have. I wish we had that problem with more positions than just flanker. But
well, as the season progresses, hopefully
more Foster Dewitt, I thought, played pretty well. We didn't really talk about when we were talking about the Arrows Free Jacks game, but I thought Foster Dewitt played pretty well too. He's been having a good season, man. He started all 5 games for the Free Jacks? I think so. I think he started one at like hooker instead of
I think that's what threw me off. Here's home as the season goes on. There's more competition, more players stepping up for their teams, and hopefully come the summer games, we'll definitely have a few Canadians fighting for each position. Now, speaking of Canadian and national teams, there's some news that has just broken today. Today is Tuesday, March 15th. And it's that Kevin Rouet will become the Canada Women's 15 head coach. This news, as I said, has only just broken today, so details are thin on exact reasoning why. But Rouet will have the chance to confirm the remaining assistant positions in April, and we also have a timetable leading up to the women's departure for the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. So March 4th to 6th, there'll be a West check-in camp. The 11th to 13th will be an East check-in camp, and 16th to 21st will be an overseas check-in camp. April 7th to 17th, there'll be a red and black camp for the top 40 players. In May, the dates to be determined, the team will assemble prior to departure for the Pacific 4 tournament between Canada, the US, New Zealand, and Australia. July 16th to 24th will be a red and black camp, and another one will take place on August 17th to 28th. And then in September, they will have the team assemble for the Rugby World Cup departure, which will be in Vancouver. Now, the former head coach, Sandro Fiorino, will remain a member of Rugby Canada until the end of March. So as I said, this news has only just come in today. Details are very thin on the ground. America's Rugby News has pointed out that Rugby Canada is in the middle of a high performance review that was announced last May, and it was initially to be completed in November of 2021, which would have been when the Women's World Cup would have concluded. There was no findings of the review that have been made public, and Fiorino has been with Rugby Canada for 11 years. and has been at the helm of the National Development Academy program in Ontario, which, due to reduced funding, has now unfortunately had to be cut. Kevin Rouet, he has served as defense coach under Fiorino since 2018, and has also been the head coach of Laval University and Quebec provincial women's teams, and the backs coach for French club Stade Bordelais. So, yeah, it seems to be a pretty major change. Yeah. Just what 6 or 7 months before the World Cup.
So. It's interesting. So they didn't really give much of an explanation, I guess, beyond one of the academies that Sandro Fiorino was running, I guess, is no longer receiving funding. So that was kind of the only explanation. And then, I mean, I guess I'm surprised in general. Again, it's not really, they don't really go into why, I guess, other than why can't he, I guess I don't understand the connection between if he's not if that academy is no longer going to operate because there's a lack of funding, why I don't understand why he still couldn't be the head coach of the women's national team. If that's as the explanation, if that makes sense too. But I guess I'm kind of surprised because it's we went through, I mean, Rugby Canada's obviously gone through a lot. There's obviously a high performance review and stuff that's happening. And I guess I'm ultimately kind of surprised looking at it that, the men's sevens team struggled last year. The women's sevens team struggled last year. The men's 15s team certainly struggled last year. And, one of the first coaching changes of 2022 is the women's 15s team, who's ranked 4th in the world and 7 months away from a World Cup.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit confusing. However, one thing to point out is that Jack Hanratty was one of the assistant coaches for the women's 15s team, was made the head coach of the senior women's sevens team.
Yeah,
and that's been extended for the duration of the World Seven Series, and I believe up until the Sevens World Cup in South Africa.
Yeah.
So basically, it's that the background team behind the women's national team, who are currently ranked 4th in the world, have just been allocated to different places or different positions now.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, is that in the timetable it will be the Pacific 4 competition taking place in May. So May and June. So I think that will be the proper litmus test of
where everyone's
if this coaching difference is going to make place. Ideally, because this is a continuation of a staff member that's already been with the organization since 2018, business as usual, please. And hopefully we can say that by September that this ultimately came for the benefit of the women's team. But all things said, Sandro Fiorino, thank you for your 11-year service with Rugby Canada. It is very greatly appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously, so like you said, plenty of changes. The press release does say that Rouet is going to finalize his coaching staff in early April, which early April is in 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, I guess. So I guess it shouldn't be too long before we know who the rest of the coaching staff for the team's going to be going into the World Cup year. I guess ultimately though, it just seems like a pretty big change going, in such a short time away from a World Cup, even though Rouet's obviously been part of the coaching staff for a long time, but it seems like it just seems like a real big change going into it. So I guess we'll see how it turns out. obviously, we talk about like the women's 15s team going into this World Cup. It's like there's some expectations on this team, right? Like it's like winning the World Cup is not out of the question for them, and that's not, what I mean. So it's definitely not out of the question, and even like going back to some of the games that they played last year or whatever, it's like England's probably going to be the team to beat, but you definitely want to see like, I mean, I like what should we set expectations at? Is it like going to be like semifinals? Is like kind of if they get to the semifinals, it'll be like, yeah, like anything beyond that, or making it to the semifinals is kind of what you would expect out of the team, maybe. But
yeah, I think it is going to basically
fair?
I think it's going to fall the way of like you obviously can't tell at this point what the knockout stages are going to be. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think having making the semifinals should be a good
like
testament.
I mean, I'm sure
that's the thing. They are currently ranked 4th in the world, so you expect them to be like as part of the final 4 that's making the World Cup final. So, but it stands to reason that they should make the semifinals.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they can do it. I think they could. I think they have a shot at winning it too. But it's yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a big story to be kind of following. It's probably be as a podcast that covers Canadian rugby, I feel like we're gonna, this is gonna be quite the year to take a bit of a deep dive into the women's national team a lot during this year.
Well, like we mentioned, we have the Pacific 4 tournament to look forward to, and then of course the Women's Rugby World Cup, which will take place. As for now, though, we have to look forward to this weekend. We have the final round of the Six Nations, the men's Six Nations, which will be on DAZN. If you're looking for the few Premiership and URC games that are going on, they'll be on Sportsnet. If you want to watch Super Rugby Pacific, that will be on TSN. If you want to watch Japan League One or the other MLR games, you can find them on the Rugby Network. And if you're looking to watch the Arrows versus Utah, they will be playing this Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on tsn.ca and the TSN app. And speaking of the MLR games that will be happening this week, we come to our predictions for round 7. And first up, we have Utah versus Toronto. So, Derek, this will be the first game of the round. It'll be held in Utah. Who are you picking?
Well, I'm picking Toronto. Always picking Toronto. Got to back the boys, man. It'd be a tough one, man. Utah's on fire right now, though. But
Utah's on fire right now, but as Toronto have played in the snow this week, I think they'll be the ones who can douse the flame. So I'm going to pick Toronto as well. Okay, next up, we have the first round of the Cali Cup. It is Los Angeles versus San Diego, and it will be back at the Coliseum. And, I think you mentioned last week about LA having the 4-week preseason last year when other teams didn't. And now this year, it's all even. Now everyone's getting the proper preseason training and getting into it. And LA are being exposed. Now, obviously, LA also have injury issues as well.
I think that's way bigger. I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's probably is. So, with their injuries, with their momentum not going their way, and both teams did lose in the previous round, but San Diego lost by fewer points. So I'm going to go with San Diego.
Yeah, you know what? I think I got to agree with you on that one too. It's like, I think the injuries are the biggest issue that LA has. I mean, like, to sum it up, their coach is playing fly half right now.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, who hasn't? When was he played in? When was like his last pro game? Like 2016 or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 6 years ago. Or something
yeah,
like
so it's like, I mean, like that. Just to sum it up, right? Like you're like, that's how I guess you still have guys. What their leading try scorer from last year, DTH Vandermerver, still isn't playing. A couple guys came back. Serge Duru came back last week. Hopefully Lesage will come back soon as well. But like I don't know. This is one of those picks where I'm kind of like, I haven't seen LA's lineup, so I don't know if anybody's gonna. I haven't seen LA's lineup as of yet. We're recording this on Tuesday, which is a little bit later than normal, but until I feel like it's like until I know they're getting these guys back from injury, anybody any of their other fly halves that aren't their coach would be nice. And I think I'm going to go with San Diego just for the same reason. San Diego's playing really well and LA's super hurt, I guess, is the reasoning behind the pick.
Okay, next one is a bit of a closer fixture than on paper, at least. It is Austin hosting New England. So now both teams have one loss, but have been on, pretty much hot streaks for the duration of the season so far. Austin have also yet to take their bye week. And, they had a bad performance against ATL, but I don't know. Derek, who are you picking?
Yeah, a lot of the teams in the West haven't had a bye week yet. It's kind of weird how the schedule worked out. I think I'm going to take Austin solely on the basis that they're the home team, because this is going to be a very even game. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I can see both teams getting like try bonus points and the loser getting a losing bonus point. I'm going to go with New England. I don't think see, here's the thing. If New England wins,
it doesn't seem like there's a wrong choice to this game.
If New England wins, I don't think there's a lot of tries in this game.
Okay.
I'll say New England. Yeah, like I think if Austin, I think Austin's going to win if they. I mean, I know it sounds dumb, but if they can put up a lot of tries, they'll probably win, because it's like, I know that sounds dumb because like obviously that's how rugby works, but like I think if Austin gets to the point where like it's like they can use kind of their attack, and if they are putting up like 4 or 5 tries and stuff, like I think New England plays really well in like the tight kind of like dirty, gritty, like in the mud type of rugby games, kind of like last week with Toronto or whatever. Lots of the physicality. I think that's where New England likes it. And then guys like Waka can like kind of Waka Poland can kind of like explode for the offensive attack and stuff. But I think if New England wins, I actually think it's going to be like low scoring. But
okay, next up is Dallas versus Seattle. Now, I'm not too sure about it because all logic says that I should go for Seattle, and yet after the performance they put up against NOLA, I think I'm going to pick Dallas.
I was going to say I'm going to pick Dallas because I have a Dallas hat now.
Oh yeah, you have to now.
And I like
you're contractually obligated to.
Yeah, exactly. I can be bought. My fandom can be bought. I'm just saying that's the picks here.
Okay, and next up we have NOLA versus New York, and this will be at the Gold Mine. So,
oh man, I think I gotta go New York.
You're gonna go New York?
I think I gotta go New York.
But they didn't even give you a hat. You're just doing this out of.
No, yeah, exactly. They did not give me a hat. They should. They look like they have some pretty nice hats, man. Saw during the sideline interviews there, Pago Hani was rocking a nice little like New Era hat.
Yeah,
they look pretty good.
All right. Okay, at the Gold Mine, I'm going to go with NOLA. I think that hard-fought victory against Dallas, I think that momentum will swing back in their way. They're the home team as well. It may make the difference. I may be completely wrong. And the final game we have is DC versus ATL. This will be at Segra Field, and DC are coming off a bye week as well. And they've made signings during the bye week as well. Don't know if they'll come in, but I've said all that, and I'm still going to pick ATL.
I think the question for this game is just how much does ATL win by?
Yeah, I think so. ATL again?
Yeah, like we're going ATL. So yeah, that's my question though. How much is ATL going to win by? We have to make this slightly more interesting.
I say enough to get the try bonus point.
Yeah, but that's not winning. You can get the try bonus point and win by 1. How much is ATL going to win by?
I'd say 8.
8. I'll go 12.
You know what's going to happen now is that DC's going to absolutely.
DC's going to win. Good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they need. They need everybody picking against them to motivate.
Okay.
It's kind of funny though how it's like it seems like everybody's kind of low key rooting for the Jackals to get their first win, but at the same time everyone's kind of like DC's terrible. Yeah.
All right, so that's your predictions. That's my predictions, and if you're looking for the Toonies predictions, you can find them on our TikTok account at the Rouge Rugby. You can find us across social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at the Rouge Rugby. If you like this episode of the podcast, you can listen to more on Anchor FM and Spotify and other Apple Podcasts as well. And you can also watch our previous episodes on YouTube, again, all at the Rouge Rugby. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can see below that we have our handles for social media available. Derek's looking at his right now. But if you're listening, you obviously can't see this. So, Derek, if people want to find you, where can they do so?
At Percent the Jet across all social media. Pretty easy. I also did a podcast with Squidge last week, so that was fun. So check that out. The Squidge Rugby retrospective from the 1987 World Cup. Canada won 54,019 to Ireland 46. So it's pretty great game.
Casual name dropping there. And you can find me across social media on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is Hardman, spelled H4RDMAN. Well, that's where we're going to end the podcast for today. Derek, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you for joining us, whether it be on YouTube or on your chosen podcast channel. And we hope that you can join us again next time.